Hi. How are we? I feel like I needed to start out nice and slow. Last week was a little unhinged, and I don't apologize, but I am self-aware enough to know there it was a lot of heat. It was coming at you. So, I wore a little green, wanted to be like a little bit more of like an earth goddess. But it's summer here, so I only had this was like the green I had of just like I just look like we're gonna just drink pina coladas and be girls. But this was intentional because I wanted to have a color on that felt kind of grounded because that's what this episode is about. And I know that so many of us that do this work, that identify with this podcast, getting grounded is difficult. It's a practice. And I think practice is one of those things that we don't like because it has to be consistent and it's something that we have to put energy into, right? So many of us that are naturally gifted at whatever it is that we're doing, it's very easy to just show up and do the thing, but our lives have called us to surpass our natural gifts. Like our natural gifts have taken us as far as they can. And now there is this new level of excellence. We started talking about that, gosh, quite a bit ago when the podcast came back and talking about achieving a new level of excellence. And I don't mean perfectionism, but I mean our default setting is now higher. What we expect of ourselves, what we put into the world, how we participate in relationships, what we expect out of other relationships, it's just different now. And it's a practice. I've been speaking about this on the podcast that I've been drawn back to yoga, and it's been a long time. When I first moved to LA, yoga was a huge part of my life and kind of retraining my body at the time and everything I was experiencing. And for reasons in life and whatever, and I've, made my way away from it. And then I've now integrated it again into a weekly practice because it is a space where if I'm doing it properly, I am not thinking about other things. I'm thinking about holding the pose of staying in that moment. And so it's 45 to 90 minutes that I'm really just purely in the moment. But what I love about it is that it is a practice. That's what they call it, that you're coming to the mat to practice. And what you're able to give it your best is going to be different every day, depending on did you have a shitty day? Did you have a great day? Where are you in your cycle? How are you feeling? What's going on? It's going to be different. And so it allows this new sense of gentleness. And that's what's interesting. And I think we're really learning to participate in now, which is being more gentle and loving with ourselves than ever because we hold ourselves to a new standard and we're holding ourselves there with love. It's not like, if you eat this, you're bad. If you do this, you're bad. It's like, no. We've done that before and we ended up where we ended up. You know what I mean? It's only successful for so long. This sense of excellence is knowing what we are capable of and choosing to operate at that level. And it takes practice. Again, I think this practice is going to run us for this new kind of life frequency expectation and things like that we're doing for ourselves. I imagine that this is going to be an 18-month learning curve. Now, it could come faster or slower for a variety of reasons. That's just what I feel. So, take it or leave it. Okay, I'm just a lady on the internet. But that real firm foundation, we have to decide. We have to decide that it's going to work. We have to decide that this is for us, right? Last week, we talked all about these energies are high and integrating them. And as these things come in, of not only accepting them, but being like, yeah, great. I was waiting for this opportunity. I was waiting for this thing to show up. And so we're going to be kind of up here. That's the way that the energy feels to me. It's always kind of brighter colors and it's a little airy, and we can kind of get lost there. And that's not where we want to operate. That's not grounded, right? And so I wanted just to offer you some tips, tricks, and feelings as you're going through the next 2, 3, 6, 18 months And really, and you're not going to like any of these because you have to do the work and it has to be consistent. Like last week's episode is fun because I'm like, oh, the thing you're waiting for, it's coming. It's going to be bigger than you imagine. Like we love that. Oh, we love it. But in order to hold it, mold it, move with it, take it from there, right? We have to be in a position to be able to do that. And the only way that we're going to do that is through practice, because this new way of being, this new way of living, this new way of setting boundaries, of moving through the world, of showing up, of expressing ourselves is still new. It maybe has been the thing that we should have been doing the whole time. Okay. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we hadn't been doing it. So it's still new and it's still a practice. And it's really going to be the practice of staying grounded. And ultimately what that means for the majority of us is slowing down. Now, when we talk about slowing down, everybody thinks about like naps or like I'm only sending one email a day. No. This is why you're doing this practice. Remember, everything from last week, actually everything from probably the last 6 to 8 weeks, all the episodes that have come out in season 5, have kind of been leading up to this moment. So the grounding exercises, the pausing, this going slow, quote unquote, is about integration, because things are only going to get faster and faster because what you want is here and it's going to meet you. And then it's like, whoop, right? This is your connecting flight. So you can't go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back through the Chick-fil-A line. They're like, no, bitch, it's gate 3A, it's taken off. So that's really what this is these are the practices to get us in a place of integration so that the speed of which we're being asked to move, the speed of the collective of how quickly things are going, we're not getting lost in it. Because for us, it's not actually about going faster because the world's going to keep spinning. You know what I mean? But it's about us being able to live in that place of excellence because of these grounding techniques. So I know it sounds like I'm like, smile, but be natural. But so let's talk about it. I've shared this practice before, sharing it again because I have not done it every day. But I think it's one of the most important. 2 to 3 minutes a day. It doesn't matter when. You could intuitively feel it, or whether it's the break or your breaking point, 2 to 3 minutes a day, closing your eyes, blowing all that air out, coming back to a seated position that's comfortable and that feels natural. And almost if you're a chanter, if that's something that works for you, you could almost hold it in a hum. That's hard for me, and then I get lightheaded. So it's not for me, but you do you. But I want you to see if you can focus on the feeling that you're wanting to feel. Here is why this is important. When you get the thing, quote unquote, and you suddenly don't feel happier, more worthy, better, or like you thought you were going to feel, this practice is why. Because you have attached a feeling, a sense of self-acceptance of now I'm worthy to an event that hasn't happened yet. And that event is just a series of circumstances. It doesn't actually affect the way you feel about you. That's your job, okay? You could put a pig in any clothing that you'd like. Put a pig in a business suit. I'm still not giving him my money to invest in his company, okay? So that's the same thing of like your outside circumstances aren't going to change your internal frequency. They're not going to change the way that you feel about yourself. And they're certainly not going to change the way you show up to things, right? It's that fake it till you make it, which is great. But that fake it till you make it is empowering if you're integrating what you're learning as you go along. So eventually you walk into the room and you're 10 toes down and you know that you deserve to be there. So that's what these practices are for. So with the 2 to 3 minutes, what I want you to do is find if you can find that feeling. Now, this is where everybody's different, and I don't need to reach out to every single person in the group, but maybe it's a color. Maybe it's seeing yourself in a certain outfit or a certain environment and imagining that and holding that feeling. Maybe it's a frequency. Maybe it's a tone. Maybe it's listening to a certain amount of music. There's no wrong or right way to do this. For me, I always think about when I wish that I still drank, which is very rare and few between. But on days that if I go out with people, I'm like, man, it would be so nice to turn my brain off. What is the feeling that I'm actually wanting? Because it doesn't actually have anything to do with the glass of wine, because I know I'm going to drink it. And then even if I felt like loose, but then I'd have a headache and then my teeth would be red, like it's not actually going to do what I want it to do. So what is the feeling that I want it to elicit? If I'm at a kid's birthday and it's like, oh, I really want a second cupcake. And it's not about making food good or bad, but my body does not need the amount of sugar that's in 2 cupcakes. Okay. It's not about whether it would make me even skinnier or fatter. It has nothing to do with that. It's simply, that's not going to make me feel better. I know that, but there's something about the thought of it, the urge of it, that makes me think I will feel a certain way. So all of the triggers, or maybe for you, it's buying more things online, right? Whatever these things are that give us that temporary feeling of like, that's the feeling you want. And we can actually replicate that feeling through many other actions. But again, it's practice, because we don't live in a world that is designed for us to feel good. Because when people feel good, they're aware that they're being sold shit. They're aware that they are not being supported, that their neighbors are not being supported, right? So if we can create a collective of people that, take rage bait and hate other people, even if you think that you're like, I'm on the good team or whatever that is, but it's like they're the problem, there's still this sense of I know and they don't know. It's a sense of righteousness. And so it's fractal, right? And so it's actually quite rebellious and revolutionary to be able to live in that, I don't want to call it a zone of peace, because that doesn't mean that every day is going to be peaceful. But I feel like it's 10 toes down. It's knowing that, that you can handle your life. It's really a sense of like badassery, because it doesn't mean that everything is great. I'm not saying what is the feeling of like, you being on a beach in Greece. It's how do you want to feel when shit hits the fan? How do you want to feel when you're really nervous before giving that speech, but you can't believe you finally get to be the one that gives that speech? How do you want to feel when, you're like planning a wedding and you had this idea that it was going to feel a certain way and suddenly it doesn't feel that way and everybody's pulling at you and it's getting more and more expensive and you're like, this wasn't supposed to feel this way. When we have that shift and that feeling that we can go back to, again, that's that yoga practice for me, 40 to 90 minutes. And I'm just, whew. That's what we want. We want to be able to pull up that feeling and own it. We want that to become the default rather than I'm behind and we're all running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and then looking at memes and sharing them and being like, isn't this connection? And then we're all wondering why we're depressed and tired. And it's actually much more simple, but it's something that our society doesn't support. Our lifestyles don't support. Our jobs don't support. But those are just excuses now, guys. And I am so sorry. This should come with a warning. Sorry for yelling. But the reality is that that's not going to happen. That the people in power, and I don't necessarily mean like actually in positions of government power, the faces that we know, but these systems, these monoliths were designed for fracture. They weren't designed for connection. So the connection that you so deeply desire, the world that you so deeply desire, the one that you vote for, the one that you call your senators for, the one that you show up for, that you plan, community gatherings for, kind of starts here. It kind of starts with that practice. And it's not pretty, I know, but there is the very real reality. So that's what I'm saying, that it's not about slowing down. We're not slowing down, but it's about pulling. It almost feels like, remember Snuggies? It almost feels like that. Or now there's like these, they're not weighted blankets, but it's almost just like a spandex thing that you can wear around your body to like hold your body in. It feels like that, but it's a frequency. And the more that we can call on it and practice it, we can move things through, because when we're not throwing our energy to every single thing that comes up, guess what? You have more for you. So you can navigate the shit easier. You can navigate the collective easier. You can position yourself to be a magnet for what you want and have enough energy to pursue it. That's what this is about. This is deep, deep, spiritual, revolutionary work that's actually quite simple. It's just a practice. So that's the first one, but I think that's going to be the most impactful and the thing that's also the hardest to do, because focusing on anything for 2 to 3 minutes, friends, we can't even focus on a reel. We're like, I'm sorry, you didn't give it to me in 8 seconds. Goodbye, right? Like swipe. So 2 to 3 minutes of quiet and focusing on one feeling, that's a lot. Like, I just want to put that out there because I think that we're so quick to be like, what's next? Next. That I just want to put that out there of like, this is going to be a very real practice. So be kind with yourself. Then there's other things. I really want you to pay attention to what makes you feel grounded. One of the things that I've been doing, I wish I visually had it, but we'll link it, is I have these candles. They're like little mini candles. I think they burn for about 50 minutes. I light one in the morning. And I'm not doing any of the things that I think that I'm supposed to do until that candle is burnt out. Because otherwise, I burn out. And so I make sure, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do this morning? Do I need to get up and jump on my rebounder? Do I need to put my legs on the wall? Do I need to do morning pages? Is there laundry that's left over? Like, what is best supporting me for that day? And maybe you're somebody where you're like, I do the same thing every morning. I'm too ADD. I've tried it. It doesn't work. But this is a grounding practice that seems to work because there's a visual timer. The idea of lighting a candle akins me to simpler times, right? This idea where, again, simplicity, it's just the lighting of a candle. That's something that I can physically do. Plus, who doesn't love the smell of a match? Also, if somebody's making candles out there, can you make us a candle that just smells like a match? I will buy all of them. Take all of my money. But when I can do that, then it gives me this sense of like, what do I need to do to set myself up for success? If I'm in a phase of grieving, what do I need to do during that time? Even if it's, I don't want to keep sleeping, but I need to let my body rest in bed. I need to so knowing that you're setting yourself up in that first 50 minutes for what you need to do. And I know so many of you are like, Rachel, you don't understand. I'm working all the time and this is not. Listen, sister, I know, and I've probably been there to some degree. And so this is, again, that self-accountability. We have to do it. That's why it's called work. That's why so many people don't do it, because we have excuses. We have too many things. I've been working to even get to this place since last August, and I'm not even a fraction of where I wanted to be. But that's because sustainable change actually takes a lot of time, especially when our lives are busy. And so I think it's really important of like, you have to get honest with yourself. What kind of life do you want to live? And how do you want to feel? And how do you want to show up to help shift culture? It starts here. It starts with you. And we have to do this work. So that's just something that works for me. So maybe I'll link those candles and things. They're super, super cheap. If you have like a local bookstore or something, or somebody that you know that do candles, you can do that. These I buy on Amazon if I don't have them at my local metaphysical store, which is not the most ideal, but you know, some for them, some for me. Sometimes you got to get stuff on Amazon. Okay. But that is a real deep practice that works for me. I think with that deep practice, you also get the opportunity to learn what are your actual rhythms. I have found, despite trying every other thing, I have to snack every 2 hours. It feels radical. It feels like I'm breastfeeding again, where I'm like having to eat, but it's probably because I didn't actually slow down when I was still breastfeeding and moving out of that enough that my body didn't shift over. And so it's been stuck in this like, and it hasn't been able to fully heal and reset itself. And so that's kind of this non-negotiable thing for me. It doesn't have to be a full meal, but that's also something that I have to think about. The world is not designed for that. My meetings, everything else I'm going to move through. That's why so many of us are like, I forgot to eat today. It's 6:00. It's like, that's not a badge of honor. Okay. You should have enough sovereignty to slow down and be able to nurture and like feed your fucking self, dude. You know, it's like there's just all of these like just girl dinner bullshit that we have been fed for so long. And this isn't even a comment on like food or bodies or anything, just from a place of like feed yourself, you know? But I share that as my example of something that's non-negotiable, meaning, so how does this play out in my life? I went to lunch with 2 girlfriends, 2 of my lifelongs. Shout out. We had the best time. But we get there and we're chit-chatting. We haven't seen each other in a year. And they order a glass of wine. Then they order a second glass of wine. And I'm svitzing. I'm about to black out. I am so hungry. And it was in that moment where I was like, LaForce, you don't have to wait for the whole table to eat, okay? We don't need you to pass out at the table. Order your food. And there are these simple things that we don't think about. And that's what honoring yourself is. Nobody cared where I was like, hey, y'all. I was like, you do your thing, but like, I got to get some food in me. Okay, no big deal. And that's the thing that, because for so many of us that are so sensitive and are always scanning the room and searching for safety, I just want you to know that you're safe now. And the only person that is going to make you feel safe is you. And there are these very simple things. This is what I'm talking about. So let's say you get a bunch of news as these things start to come in and you're getting everything you want. And if you're staying up here, you're not going to be taking care of yourself. And no one is going to stop you and go, oh, hey, let's do it differently. You have to decide. That's why so many celebrities, it's the perfect example, crash and burn. Because everybody's making millions of fucking dollars off them. They're not concerned if that person can sustain that tour. They're not concerned if that person can sustain, whatever it is. This is your sovereignty. This is your integrity. This is your power. Everybody loves to think of self-power as like, I'm like sexy, or I'm doing me. Like, fuck that. I say no. Lean in. Like all this bullshit. And your power is ultimately listening to yourself and taking the action you're being called to take. That's it. I'm going to say that again. Your power is simply hearing what you should do to support yourself and taking the action to do that thing. Because if I had to guess, the majority of the way that you have gotten in your own way and you've gotten in a lot of trouble and you've stayed in relationships for too long and you've gotten your body sick and is because you heard the call and you were like, no, I feel like I'm good. And then you just keep going with whatever else the outside world is doing. And we're all doing that. Some of us are much more aware of it, of course, but we're all doing that. And that's the other thing of like showing, not telling. So many of us love to get online and be like, this is how you're going to do this thing and do these 3 things. I know I'm doing it right now. I am completely self-aware, but I'm just saying that that's only so impactful. You know what's really impactful is like being out with somebody and seeing them go, hey, I'm going to step outside. Like I need to do da-da-da. Or like when people do things for themselves, that's in service of themselves without making it a spectacle, friends. Okay. I'm not meaning you need to be in a meeting and be like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, everybody on the Zoom, I've got to eat a banana. Okay. Like that's not what I'm saying. But when we are in honor of ourselves, you're saving all of that energy so that you can keep the train moving. So again, slowing down is not actually about doing less. In some ways, yes, but it's more about listening to yourself. That's the piece that's slowing down. So that's another practice when I teach intuition, and it blows my mind because I'm like, I don't even know why I have to teach this to you people. I know that you know. What's the number one way that you've gotten yourself in trouble? It's by not listening to yourself. You're right. That's your intuition. That's all it is. Thank you so much for coming. That's the TED Talk. Okay? So there are these simple practices. There's the 2 to 3 minutes. There are what are these things for you that allow yourself to listen to yourself better. So those are some of the grounding practices. Now I can give you some that are more specific of like, can you, and everybody loves this. Do we love this diss online? God, is she 85? This diss online where everyone's like, touch grass. Normally from the person who like very, very much needs to be tied to a tree, not in that, edit that out. But like the person that needs to actually like hug a tree, be in it, be with nature, like that's typically the person who's telling other people to touch grass. But if you are new to grounding yourself, that is a good way. Can you get outside, take your shoes off, and just walk around on the ground? Like we wear shoes everywhere. I don't have my kids wear shoes anywhere pretty much unless it's like dangerous or like they absolutely have to. And people look at us like we're pretty weird most of the time. But I'm like, oh, you want to be wearing shoes? Like we're outside. Like what? And so there's just these things that we've all decided that we do, and we do them even though they're not in service of us. So that's really this work is I want you to slow down and look at what are the ways that you have been doing things or the systems for doing things just because that's the way that other people have done them. Is it actually in best service of you? these are the small ways that we can begin to tweak our routines to be in better support of us. Because when we are better supported, we have the larger capacity to take on more. Or in those windows where you don't need to take anything on, and then you can just like, I don't know, enjoy yourself. So crazy idea. I know, write it down. But I want you to like enjoy it a little bit, you know? I think that's actually the last thing I want to leave you with, because, and it ties back to last week, but that, you know, we've discovered this where I was talking about, I can see everyone's inner child, and I feel like everybody is really experiencing this sense of joy of being reconnected with that, and really being reconnected with how beautiful your gifts are and how real they are and how they really are here to be shared, but they're also for you to enjoy. Like, you should also just be able to like enjoy feeling full and real and expansive, and not having to like explain yourself or who you are or what you do to everyone. And that is even a practice. Because for those of us that are recovering from being like the quintessential over-explainer, you know, well, we can't come to that. I know. Well, here's why. And to just RSVP now. They don't really care. They've already moved on. Okay. So it's taking that time back, that you don't have to explain yourself to everyone. And like, honestly, so many of us would love to be a little bit more mysterious. Like, let them wonder, let them create their own stories. Or frankly, they're probably not even thinking about you is the more accurate part of that. Okay. So there are a few grounding practices in this. I really, rather than like, here's an actual thing you can do. You know, again, you can go outside, you can put your feet on the ground and imagine roots coming from all the way from the top of your head, rooting you all the way down through your body and through your feet, and anchoring all the way deep, deep, deep down in the ground, and being able to kind of almost do a light sway. And you could almost feel yourself kind of swaying back and forth, completely anchored in. We'll also link back. I've done an episode similar to this, and we'll link that in the show notes for you as well. So if you're really digging this, you can go back and revisit that episode that also has grounding practices. But I think this is more about showcasing and showing you within your routines how to get more grounded. And I also think that 2 to 3 minute practice is going to open you up to see either there are practices that you visited before that you want to integrate again, or perhaps there are new ones that you would like to explore and integrate. I trust that this episode changed your life. You know, you're never going to be the same. You're going to work and you're like, you pulled a 360 and no, a 360 would send you back in the same direction. A 180 and you are a new person. No, but I trust that it was supportive and helpful. I know I'm doing so much of this work myself, and it is tiring. It is tiring. Who knew that after this long of our lives to listen to ourselves would be so hard? But that's really the part where I talked about that of uncomfortability, that we don't want to feel uncomfortable in all the things that we will do to not experience uncomfortability. And the reality is that creating new systems and ways of being is going to be uncomfortable. But I think that's a good thing. So I'm so excited for you. And the next couple of weeks are going to get wild and loose. Lots of new stuff, new bumps in the road, new things. That's a bump in the road, and it's going to like, feels like a video game. There's like a bump in the road, but then it's going to like throw you up like somewhere even faster than you thought that you could get there. So really kind of staying like loose and open to everything that's going to be coming into your orbit, into your life, and accepting it and knowing that you've worked for it and that you deserve it and that your gifts are meant to be shared and you're just going to do amazing things. So I'm really excited for you. If you found this episode helpful, well, I'll pat myself on the back because that was the idea. But no, if you found this helpful, can you share it with a friend, somebody who needs it? This isn't any of my original information, so it's not about me. I want to be able to help people with things that are helpful so that you guys can live your best lives, and we can also help to shift the collective so that all of us can begin to have a more wealthy and prosperous life, because we deserve it. All right, tune out, tune in. Love you, mean it.